I think it's really easy for people to get into the place that think like, well, I know everything and I'm successful, so I don't need any help. You always need help. You always need someone else to run ideas through. We do it all the time with the three of us, but find someone who has been where you are and they are where you want to be and meet them and listen to what they have to say. And I think we can never really stop growing.
Typically, you ask a gym owner, like, what's the most important thing to take care of? And they always say their members, and it's not. It's your coaches, hands down. If you disagree, like, fight me. I mean, you have to take care of your coaches before anything and above all else, because they take care of the members, because the love you do have for your members is going to be flowing through your coaches.
Are you holding your coaches accountable to following the coaching standards? Are you holding your marketing to hitting your numbers that you want to hit? I've seen owners almost try to put themselves at the peer level of the coach. Like, oh, I'm a coach and I got two other coaches. Well, then who's leading, right? Like, who's the boss?
This is the Reinforce Your Gym podcast with your host, Dustin Vogel. This show is about arming gym owners with the tools, strategies, and lessons they need to take their business to the next level. That way, they can make a greater impact in their community. Now, let's get to work and reinforce your gym.
Here we go, gym owners. We got another episode of the Reinforce Your Gym podcast, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Jason and Kim, and we are excited for today's topic. Kind of going to put a little bit of a nerd, I guess, spin on it and geek out with our Marvel fanboy and fangirl side. We'll be talking about the Infinity Stones, right? We all are big fans of the Avengers. Thanos, one of the best villains ever. He had these different Infinity Stones that they were fighting him to go collect because they knew if he collected them all, he's going to snap his finger and eliminate half of the universe. So we decided to put our spin on it, and we decided to say, what's the gym owner equivalent of that? That if they collected all of these Infinity Stones, it would give them immense power and hopefully snap their fingers to fill up their gym and get a bunch of people in the door. So that is what we're going to talk about. So kind of a fun subject, kind of making things a little nerdy, but also making our own spin on these topics. So that's what we're going to do. But I got to ask you guys before we go into the topic, and I didn't prime you guys with this, so this is a good little on the fly. Who's your favorite Avenger? That's what we got to talk about. We got to geek out on our Marvel geekism here a little bit. So Kim, who would you pick is your favorite Marvel superhero?
I am Iron Man all day if we're talking about Avengers.
Okay,
yeah.
Good choice. Jason, how about for you?
I've always been a Thor fan, and I really loved how they morphed his character, how they made him so much more funnier, and as he got into like in the Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that, man, I love the humor they put with Thor. I mean, the way the actor sells it is it's funny, especially that Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I mean, I love him and when they were going back and forth. But yeah, give me Thor.
They had lots of good comedy for his character for sure. Man, it's hard for me to pick, but I guess I'll go Captain America, because he's one of these guys that really stands up for the right thing, even when it's like very difficult to make that choice. So definitely, again, cool to hear what everybody loves, because now the Marvel Universe is getting a fresh breath of air, and they're going to be cranking out some good movies again. So that's it for our side rant of Marvel nerdism, but we'll get into today's topic. So again, if you guys have not seen this movie, like, I would suggest you go watch that. Obviously, the Avengers movies, Endgame, you get to see what we're talking about, the Infinity Stones and the Gauntlet. But they're basically a bunch of different gems that all have a different power. So we're going to talk about these in order. So the first one, the Infinity Stone, for gym owner, would be a cash flow offer. All right, this is the first thing you got to collect to make your super gym a possibility. A lot of owners don't value their time. Not to name names, but I was just talking to an owner who gave trials 15 days for $5, and then after the trial is over, incentivize them to become a member, and their first month is free, and then they became a paying client. So they pretty much got like a month and a half, 2 months at a very low discounted price, and that gym owner is definitely not making any cash flow on that offer, on all their ad spend, on their cost, have someone follow up, software, like add all that up. Your goal is to calculate that and to make sure your front end sale is going to offset that and cover that cost, right? And it's above that cost. It's not even to get to break even. It is cash flowing, and it means you're making money to go and turn on your marketing and ads. The game is not to break even. The game is not to lose money, right? We need to make money. Gone are those days where, again, you heard a lot of gurus say, go ahead and eat the front end. It's not a big deal. You make money on the back end. We know what happens when you price that way. You are teaching the customer your time is not valuable. You are not a valuable asset. And honestly, I think it hurts your adherence too, right? So Kim, I know you were bringing that up. Why is it important that they price accordingly?
Yeah, so that's looking at it from the other side. Like everything you said is right, as far as making that money to cover your ads and then also, providing value, making sure the client sees you as value. But looking at it from a general mindset is our clients that are coming to us, and it's something I say a lot, they're in pain. We're asking them to go through more pain to reach their goals. Working out is very hard, especially for people who never do it. They have injuries, they're severely overweight. Something that keeps people going is hitting them in their pocket. We know this, So when you offer somebody, and this is something that when I was early in my gym career, I made the mistake of doing. We've all done it. The LBOs, the giving too much time away for free. When you give somebody something for free, not only are they not going to value it, but they're probably not going to stick to it because there's no reason for them to. So by charging somebody weekly or monthly for it doesn't have to be the full price of your offer, but creating that really good price point, that perfect starting price point, it does you a service as a business owner because now you are making your money back for your ads to get that lead in, but you're also doing that lead a service because you're giving them another incentive to keep going. Because for many people and for a lot of us, like getting off the couch and getting, out of, we want to get out of pain, but getting in more pain and going into the gym and going through the physical pain of working out, but the mental anguish of it too. And especially for a lot of people, all their own doubts, they think they're going to be the most overweight. They're not going to know what they're doing. You're asking them to go through all of that, and if they're not actually paying for it and seeing that money come out of their account every week or every month when they first get started, it's gonna be very easy for them to just tell themselves, "I can't, I won't, I'm done."
Yeah. And the point you're making is when you pay attention, your client adherence will go up, the client will get better results. The truth is, you don't feel comfortable charging enough. It's probably because your trial just sucks and doesn't deliver enough value. Just make it better so you feel good charging $300, $500 for it. The easiest thing I found is owners tend to lean towards a shorter trial because they're antsy to get them into membership. And I just say, it's the number one way to make you feel comfortable about charging more. Give them more time. Open up your trial to a month. Give them 6 weeks. Give them 8 weeks. You probably wouldn't feel weird charging someone $500 for 3 months because you're like, oh yeah, that my membership rate is X. That's totally an amazing deal. But you probably don't feel good about asking them for $500 for 1 month, right? Unless you do PT or something. So that's the thing you can stretch out and shorten or lengthen as always time. And you don't have to add that because what they think is, oh man, if it costs that much, I got to add all these goodies. I got to hire more help. I got to do all these bonuses. No, you don't. Just give them what they want. They want training and give them more time and just raise the price, right? Jason, how about for you, man? What are your thoughts around cash flow offers?
Yeah, exactly what Kim said too. I mean, you have to pay attention. That's the big thing. They have to have some kind of, we always say skin in the game. I think that's the huge thing. So think about, obviously, if you listen to this podcast, you probably own the gym, right? So think of what would the cash flow offer look like be in your gym. So let's just say we throw a number of like $200. That's going to be your cash flow offer. That's what people pay on the front end. So you might think like, oh my gosh, how am I going to sell a $200 trial package? I'm used to selling $14 trial packages. That might seem like a stretch, but now think of it as like a $200 basket, a gift basket. What do you want to put in that gift basket to make $200 seem like an easy decision? Maybe throw in a couple in-body scans. Maybe you throw in 4 weekly accountability check-ins with a coach, things that aren't a huge expense physically out of your pocket. Maybe throw in a little tub of protein that costs you $30 wholesale, something like that, right? So think of what you can put inside that $200 gift basket for them to look at that basket and be like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing value in exchange $200. Because if you backpedal a bit, like to your example, Dusty, think of that lady that paid $15 for basically 2 months in her gym. If she knew her CAC, the cost to acquire a customer, I bet you it is tenfold of $15. So everything on the front is a complete loss. And now she's going to rely on month 3, 4, and 5 to make back the cost it took to acquire that customer. So I know we've talked about that on a previous podcast. Hopefully, if you're listening, you go back and find that. But just Google it. I mean, what is the cost to acquire a customer? It's across every business, and as an owner, you should know that number. So spend a half hour, an hour, and find out what that cost is. Because once you know that cost, you're going to feel much better charging $200 for someone to come in rather than 15 because the cost to acquire that customer in your example, Dustin, I bet you is probably 150, so we have to make sure we offset ad spend and everything in between. So think about a gift basket, right? Easter's coming up. You're a kid. Like you want the Easter basket. It's got all the chocolate and bunnies and all that kind of stuff in there. Like that's the gift basket you want. So think of that. Like, what is your cash flow offer? It's $200, $300. Like, what do you put in there to make it just like a no daw sell, for that person coming in the gym?
I love that analogy of the basket. I'm gonna use that with my team.
Yeah.
Fill the
Well,
basket
all
up for
right.
them.
Well, that's the first Affinity Stone, guys. So we're not even done. I mean, there's 6 of them. So we're gonna move on to the second, and that is a simple marketing and sales process. Like if you don't have that dialed in, oh my gosh, you're gonna be up for a lot of trouble. I mean, in general, you just want simple systems overall. That would really be the main second Affinity Stone. But what we want to do is we want to really dial in on the one that you need to start with, and that's marketing and sales. So what is your simple marketing process? And if you got like an agency running your ads or you're doing your own, that's documented. What makes an ad you like and don't like, what makes an ad work and not work, write that stuff down. Because if it's just living in your head, just like live through an emergency situation. You get hit by a bus, something happens to you, you got to go away, vacation. Someone else needs to be able to come and pick up your thoughts. And if it's not captured anywhere, you're a very, very high risk. So what do you do to get leads? Do you run quarterly referral programs? Do you post on social media 3 times a week? Just brain dump it all on a one pager. Doesn't have to be some lengthy document, and just like, this is how we do marketing here. And that's it. And then have it captured. And then your sales process. How do you move a lead into a sale? Whether you're selling them a front end trial or you're trying to sell them into membership, ideally you capture both. But again, don't get ahead of yourself. Build one at a time. And we've also referenced multiple times, use your good old buddy ChatGPT. If you feel like I am not good about writing these things, I'm having a writer's block, go there, just say, I own this gym. I need you to document a simple sales process. This is kind of how we do it, roughly explain it, and it'll spit out a beautiful, easy document for you and your team to follow. So that would be the next big one. And it does hurt a lot of gyms when they don't have this thing documented. So Kim, any tips you would give them around the Infinity Stone?
I think thinking about things in little chunks. So I used to get very overwhelmed with like, oh, I need to build a 12-month marketing calendar and I don't know what all of that looks like. And, it'd be very overwhelming. So I would just kind of like, what are we running now? What are we going to run now? What are we going to run now? So I was constantly like chasing the next thing. And finally I sat down and said, let's just look at this as quarterly. What are we going to do this quarter? All right. And what are the areas that we need to hit? What is our strategy for new leads to get, and what are we going to do organically for those new leads? What are we going to do for paid marketing? How are we going to hit our past members to reactivate them? And then what about member referrals? So now what we did was we created just like, okay, let's just think about this quarter. What are we going to run for our offer to market? And if you're not running paid ads, that's definitely, we talk a lot here about paid ads, organic leads. You need both. You need both poles in the water. So that would be the place to start is if you don't have paid ads, think about getting them. I personally wouldn't run them myself because I'm not a graphic designer and I'm not a digital marketer. And Facebook algorithm has gotten, very crazy these days. And I think it would be a lot for somebody who's not experienced with that. So my suggestion is an agency like GR or someone else that you love to work with who can run your ads, and then think about the strategy behind it. What are we going to run this quarter for those paid ads? What's the offer we're going to put out? We can help with that. If you need help creating an offer, that's part of what we do here at GR. And then how am I going to go back and reactivate my past members? I think that's a place that a lot of people leave on the table. They know that people have left, but they don't necessarily go back and invite them back in. And sometimes people just need you to reach out their hand. I'm thinking of you. We missed you in the gym. What have you been doing? And that gets people back in. And then you can figure out like a special offer for them, and then running member referrals each quarter as well. So those are the 3 things that I do quarterly. And that's what I did. I just thought about it as those 3 things. And then you just repeat it. You can tweak them slightly. So it's a little bit different. But once you think about it in a small chunk, then you can then build on it from there. So just start small would be my, I guess, the overall advice.
Love it. Love it. What about for you, Jason? What about anything you would add on simple marketing and sales processes?
You think of marketing for a gym as a whole, you just picture this big umbrella of like, and like Kim said, it becomes an overwhelming task. But I always say, even if you have a decent membership base built up, so maybe you've only been in business for a year or 2 and you're starting to grow the memberships, think of like every member that's currently working out your gym will give you marketing material. And they will, right? They'll post on social media, they'll share a testimonial, all that kind of stuff too, right? So your members are always marketing for you. So make sure you always encourage them to do that as well. And I think one of the things that gym owners really lacks on is we are afraid to ask for referrals, right? So, a lady comes up, she's like, oh my gosh, I've been here for 3 months. I feel amazing. I've lost 15 pounds, dot, 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 dot. Number one is ask, hey, can I share your story? And she probably will let you share the story. So you have a testimonial. And then, of course, you're physically talking to her and say, man, you've had such amazing success. Can you think of anyone at work? Can you think of anyone in your family that could use this program and have the same, benefits as you? Anybody. So always ask for referrals. I mean, that was the big thing we always tell our coaches. Like, if a member pulls you aside and tells you about amazing win or some kind of victory in their life, ask for a referral because their dopamine's high, their energy's high, they're in love with the gym, they love everything about it, they love the coaches. That's the time to ask for referrals. So yeah, having set quarterly or maybe biannually referral events is what you have to have on your marketing calendar, but never forget about that one that, hand-to-hand combat, one-on-one, ask for referrals. So if like digital marketing and all that kind of stuff is a little bit uncomfortable for you to think of right now, look at your current members right now and encourage them to do marketing. Encourage them to check in on Facebook after every single workout. I mean, there's so many things they can advertise on social media for you. Just checking into your location. Facebook loves that kind of stuff because they're keeping users on the platform. So think of like your members as a marketing machine and milk everything you can out of them because they will sing your praises, and that goes much further than you talking about how amazing your gym is.
Love it. All right. Well, guys, that will be your second big infinity stone, is to build a simple marketing and sales process and just start small and add more over time. The third one we're going to dive into is around deliverability, and that is your coaches. All right. Getting rock star coaches, not just general coaches, amazing coaches. And I say, one of the easiest ways to gauge if this coach is going to be a great fit is, do they have energy that draws people in? Will people want to spend time with them? Will they yearn to be at the gym? If not, it's just a body that's going through the motions. And yes, that box is checked. And yes, that seat is filled. But I don't know if it's going to be the right one that's going to grow the business. Like you're literally making a maintenance hire or a growth hire. If you're like, hey, I just need someone to get plugged in and just keep the ship going, then you're going to make a maintenance hire, but you're literally making a decision to not grow the business. But if you're like, this person is awesome and we're going to grow to the next level, I have seen coaches be an inflection point. Like I say, when I look back at my business, it's like a staircase, and there's specific decisions that almost these things we're talking about are those inflection points. When I hired like an amazing coach, the sessions got full. Like if nights were empty and we hired this new coach, suddenly nights were full. And it's because the show is awesome. People want to be around them. They make people feel good, and they will pack the house, right? And this is, in our industry, what we're selling at the end of the day. So it's kind of like being Steve Jobs, again, RIP, but he would go down the product line and decide this phone is worthy of being shipped. Yes, it's ready. Let's go. And like nobody sends nothing till he gives us the green light. That's you when you're doing coach selection. You're choosing what product to ship out to your floor and have time with your clients, right? So this is a huge one. And obviously I have ran workshops around the country around this. I get fired up, but this is something that I know definitely deserves a spot on this list. So Kim, what's your take on, I guess, the importance of good coaches?
Oh, I mean, where do I even start?
Yeah.
It's like there's so many things. Your team, I mean, my general feeling to start is your team is everything. Your team can make or break a business. When you have a team member on who is not bought in to your mission, they're just there, they're a body, they're a job. Your clients know that. They feel it. And it doesn't matter how nice that person is, how friendly they are. There's just a different thing. There's a different energy that comes across with a team member who's like, oh yeah, I'm totally into the mission of everything we're doing here, versus someone who's like, all right, my shift is from this time to this time. And sure, I like everybody here, but it's just a job to them. Like people can see that, they can feel it. So, you really want to make sure, especially if you have a group type environment where that culture is really the thing that helps you build the business and keep it where you want it to be and continue to grow. You do have to really be careful with who you hire and make sure the people that you are bringing, like I'd rather run sessions by myself than have the wrong coach on the mat, because the wrong coach on the mat will bring everything down. So as far as like, what do you do then? Multiple step interview, hiring, training process. Go really, really slow with all of it. We have multiple interviews before somebody even comes in. And then when we do have them come in for the first time, we have them jump into a session. And like, what are you looking for at that point when they're coming in? I want to see when they walk through the door, are they interacting with people? Are they asking people questions? Are they like, hey, how long have you been here? Do they seem excited? Or do they come in and put their shoes on and kind of hide in the corner and go in the mat and not talk to anybody? You know, that is a huge indication right there how they're going to be in general in your business and as a coach, because you want people who are going to be engaged with your members and be really excited. So like, find the right people, hire really slow, make sure you go through a multi-step process, get the right people in your location to help you build and grow.
Yeah, love it. All right. Jason, how about for you, man? What's your input around coaches?
Yeah, that's the big thing. Typically you ask a gym owner, like, what's the most important thing to take care of? And they always say their members, and it's not. It's your coaches, hands down. If you disagree, like, fight me. I mean, you have to take care of your coaches before anything and above all else, because they take care of the members. Unless you're physically just a one-man operation, you're coaching every single workout, you're training every single client, then of course your members are the most important. But if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, coaches, trainers on your staff, admins, I don't care what it is, you have to take care of them first, because the love you do have for your members is going to be flowing through your coaches. So make sure your coaches are propped up and make sure they're supported, they're trained. That really is your job. Maybe you up in the second location, and maybe you're an absentee owner. You still have to be pouring into those coaches to give them all the support. And kind of like echo what Kim just said, right, is making sure you always hire slow and fire fast. Like if you have that coach that's just toxic, it's a cancer within the culture, you got to fire fast. You got to get it out. If you let that thing stew and fester, trust me, been there. I waited too long. I've gotten burnt before. And so you have to cut that fast. Fire fast, hire slow. That's the big. Never rush to, like Dustin said, you never want a body in place. You don't want a placeholder. You want caring, authentic people that are going to pour into those clients. So that's my recommendations. Hire as slow as you can. Sometimes it can be painful because it might mean extra hours for you or your current staff, but it will be worth it when you hire slow and find that right person.
You'll be more tired, but the plus side is you usually get a little bit more profit those months. So if you could use the money, then step in and coach, because obviously it's time or money exchange. You want your time back, you're giving up your money. If you want some more money, like say, hey, I'm gonna let some of these coaches have less hours, or I'm gonna coach more. But it's worth paying that price to wait for the right person to sit in the seat, because it could be so detrimental. I've seen gyms get hammered by retention issues because they brought in a lot of non-caring warm bodies that just had a cert or could get the job done. And the clients can feel that. And then you're not around, so then they can't voice it to you. So then they just quiet quit and they just email you and say they want to cancel. They say it's because of schedule, or they say it's because they got a financial change, but really they're saying, I don't like this coach. And that's why I've always been a fan of tracking what time do they usually come to, and you can then almost assign it to that coach. You're like, why are we getting so many people canceling in the evening? Well, who's the evening coach? Oh, well, that's our new intern, so and so, and they just started a month ago. Sorry, owner, you need to get on the floor and coach. You're losing people left and right until they're up to par and standard. You might have rushed 1 week of onboarding and said, okay, evenings are yours, I'm out of here, but you're paying the price for it now, right? We brought that up with the past episodes called the 90-day echo. What you did 90 days ago, you're feeling it today, but what you do today will be your life 90 days from now. So that's the hard part of coach selection. It is a very, very big decisions. And don't wait till someone puts in their notice to then turn on recruiting mode. Always be recruiting. Try to create a coaching engine that is just running all year round. That's why I'm such a big fan of gyms having a coach internship, so that you run one of these 1 or 2 groups a year and you got coaches on standby. Like, hey, we're all staffed up, but I'm going to save your number because you impressed us during this internship. I'll call you if something opens. I want 2 or 3 of those always, right? So you never feel a tight squeeze from one coach leaving. You always got backups, right? Hey guys, just taking a quick break to ask for one thing. If you can give us a 5-star review, it'd mean the world to me. It helps get me feedback on what you're enjoying about the show and how we're adding value to your business. And it helps us get the word out so we can turn the tide on this war against obesity. So give us a 5-star review and let's get back to the show. All right, we'll move on. The next infinity stone we would put into this gauntlet is the industry specific mentor. All right. Somebody who has been in the fitness industry, they know what it's like. They're not speaking from the outside. I've hired mentors and they were generalists, and it showed in the advice they gave me, because I just do so much time catching them up with how things work in our business and how we get leads and how we do our sales. And I could just tell at that point, like I'm almost leading them more than they're leading me. And it's because I chose a generic general mentor. I didn't hire one that was in the fitness industry, right? And has done big things. And I want to follow in their path. So that's something that everybody should have is a mentor that has gone further than you, but you also want to go the path they've gone, right? So like I caution people, I'm pretty like self-aware that if you don't want to do multi-location, I can shift my advice into maximizing your single location, but I can also show you how to go to multi-location. Can I be the best mentor for someone with an open gym concept? I can give you my ideas, but I've never owned one. So I'm probably not going to be the best one to lead you on how to grow an open gym, right? Same with a yoga studio. I never owned a yoga studio. So I'm probably not going to be your best bet there, or a performance gym where you're helping people perform better for sports. Like that was just not my jam. But if you have a transformation gym, I'm your guy. And if you want to go multi-location with it and scale and make your system simpler, I'm your guy. I got you. Right. So, and you guys too, like you guys have led those types of gyms as well. But I think again, it's being super picky, just like when you're picking team members, be picky about picking your mentor. Don't get all googly eyed because of how many followers they have or how many millions they said they made or how successful, because that can really warp you into, just getting caught up in their celebrity. Ask yourself, what have they done? Have they been through my shoes, and have they come out the other side better? Because then I'll have a plan and they'll be able to backtrack and give me sage advice, right? So Kim, I guess any input you want to give on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I love this because again, it goes to mindset. I love anything that's like mindset coaching related. So I'll start off by saying the best when I first got into the industry, one of the best things I've ever heard, which is now kind of a daily mantra, is follow the people who have been where you are, who are where you want to be. And that's what I have done since the moment I came into the fitness industry. This is right here proof. Dustin, you're sitting in front of me. When I first, heard you speak at the Fit Body Bootcamp University, I was like, oh, he is doing exactly what I wanna do. He started where I was. I'm gonna meet him and make friends with him, and I just wanna learn as much as I possibly can from him, and you and other gym owners. So that's what I did when I first came into the industry. I made as many gym owners as I possibly could, as friends. And you have to remember, like, mentors have mentors, and coaches have coaches, and doctors have doctors, and therapists have therapists. And I think it's really easy for people to get into the place that think like, "Well, I know everything and I'm successful, so I don't need any help." You always need help. You always need someone else to run ideas through. We do it all the time with the three of us, but find someone who has been where you are and they are where you want to be and meet them and listen to what they have to say. And I think we can never really stop growing. So that mentor may change as time goes on and as you grow, you can keep them and you're going to add on different mentors. But
Yeah.
just keep growing and keep learning.
Yeah, and that's a good point because like you also need to seek out the mentor that will strengthen where you're weak, right? So if you're good at marketing and then you go get a marketing mentor, like what was the point, right? Like you're like, I suck at leadership, I suck at systems, I need to get better onboarding and training coaches. Go find the person that's going to help you with that. And that's why again, I know I'm on the call when I talk to owners and you guys too, and owners like I'm not a marketer. I could coach my face off, get these people in here, I can lead my team well, but man, I don't enjoy marketing. I'm not good at it. And so then we make a happy yin and yang kind of, completion. But they're like, oh, I've been testing all these ads and I've been doing this. We're just like, why are you on the phone with us? Like, what's the, so yeah. But Jason, how about for you, man? What do you got to say around mentorship?
Yeah, I think the thing to think about with a mentor is it prevents you from feeling you're being on an island. I think a lot of times, especially something about the gym industry, sometimes it's like we get in our own little bubble, right? So it's us. We have maybe a spouse with us. We have 2 or 3 coaches, and then we have 150 members, right? And so it feels like we're constantly just in a bubble nonstop. We're just always focused on, like we talked about with our coaches, but then we have 150 personalities, so we have a lot of things coming at us, and we just get stuck in a bubble sometimes. So when you're able to work with a mentor, maybe it's just by Zoom or maybe able to travel and meet with this person maybe quarterly or even if it's once a year, it allows you to just step outside the bubble and see what's new in the industry, see what's out there. Attend the conferences, attend the rah-rah type of things for, mindset and stuff like that too. So especially when it comes on location, obviously like when we're up in the Great White North here is basically like I always say Southern Canada, sometimes it's just like you feel like you're on an island sometimes, so you got to get out there. It allows you to number one, interact with this mentor, but then you get to bump elbows with people who are your peers, in the same industry as well too. So it just allows you to grow, so you just don't want to get stagnant, stuck in your bubble by, hiring a specific mentor, or maybe it's a mentorship program you're paying into, that's a good thing to have. So yeah, you never want to be the smartest person in the room, yeah, you just have to go find a new room if you are, so yeah, it's well worth the money. We've had many over the years, and every step along the way, find the one, like Dustin said, where you need help with the most.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Love it. Well, we will press on, and that is a GM, general manager. And I do want to caution by like, hey, this infinity stone is only if you want to step out of, doing a lot of the day-to-day fulfillment. If not, you're the GM, and that's totally okay. You will, like I said, probably be taking home more, because when you take a step back, there's kind of like a pay cut, because you're now giving what you would have earned to this person to step in and take it for you. But that's really up to you and your vision. Either way, you are the GM or you hire GM. Someone needs to be a GM. That's why we put it on this Infinity Gauntlet, that it is a requirement, and you almost got to like step into that role. Cause like I've seen owners almost try to put themselves at the peer level of the coach. Like, oh, I'm a coach and I got two other coaches. Well, then who's leading, right? Like, who's the boss? And they say you're the owner, but you keep using the job title of coach. Now they don't see you as a manager or a leader holding them accountable. So you say like, hey guys, welcome in. I'm the owner. I'm the acting general manager. You're coach A, you're coach B. I do some coaching. It's one of my tasks, but I also sell and run the books and pay the bills. And like, there's a million other things. So and you're almost like mistitling yourself when you call yourself a coach to your team, because that's not all you do, right? It's the wrong title. So own it, step into it. And then within that, it is part of holding the line and the standards across the board on all the functions of the business. So are you holding your coaches accountable to following the coaching standards? Are you holding your marketing to hitting your numbers that you want to hit and holding them accountable? Are you holding yourself accountable to your sales goals, right? Or do you get a hall pass because you're the owner? You didn't hit your numbers, but that's okay. I own the place. I get out of it, right? So it's really accountability. That's what you're doing in the GM role, and overseeing all the five functions, which again, it's lead gen, lead nurture, sales, fulfillment, and then retention and upselling. So that's what we want to have: an owner that's the GM doing, or a GM you hire doing. But someone has to own this to really achieve that ultimate gym vision. Kim, what's your input around GMs, management, that type of stuff?
Yeah, I love that you brought up like some gym owners, they don't want a huge team. They want to be involved in all the day-to-day operations and all that stuff. And then some owners, have people who do that for them. I think the main point is like it does have to be a very defined role. So sitting down and looking at what are all the tasks that a general manager would do, and making sure that those are defined. Because you might be doing it now and you might be saying, I want to do this forever. And then at some point you're like, I think I can't concentrate on doing everything all at once. So define the role, even if you're the one doing it, make sure that you are writing everything down. What are the tasks involved in that? Like Dustin said, if you do have a team, making sure that they know that your role of general manager and these are all the things that are covered. Because you also want your team and your members to know who they go to for what thing. So you have to define the role, because then you can say to your team, if somebody has a question about X or B or A, this is where they're going to go. They're going to ask that's covered under the general manager. So they're going to go to the manager for those questions. You have to direct your team to answer questions properly. And then if they can't answer the question, who's the manager that they go to? And you want to make sure, even though you're the owner, if you're in that general manager role, like that's a general manager question. So if you do hire and put somebody in there, then they're also going to know, okay, all those questions that's covered under the general manager category that you used to come to me for, now you're going to go to Sarah. She's our new general manager. And I would say when you do hire somebody for that position, we talk about putting the right people on the right seats of the bus. That's very, very important. Is they should be somebody who's able to lead. It seems like a natural thing, but sometimes we get stuck and we put people in spots just because we need a warm body, but you want somebody who's going to be able to lead the team. And it might be a coach who's now you're moving up. So make sure it is, yeah, and that happens. We do it. We want to promote from within, but is the rest of your team now going to be able to see that person as a leader? Because can that person put themselves as a leader in front of the rest of the team? So there is a lot that's involved in this topic, whether you're doing it yourself or not. But I would say that would be the place to start, is just define the role.
Yeah. And that goes back to simple systems like having your job descriptions. But like I found a good clever little bridge is if you're like, I have this coach and I'm thinking of making him a manager, where you can try before you buy with like an in-between job title, which could be head coach or it could be assistant general manager. And you're like, I'm gonna lob you 3 to 5 extra tasks that you would do as the GM, but I'm gonna like be nice and just not load it all on your shoulders. I'm gonna give you 3 or 5 tasks. We're gonna go for 60 days. These are the clear KPIs. If they're hit, the GM title is yours. If they're not hit, unfortunately, it wasn't a good fit. And that way it's all numbers driven. There's no emotions. There's no excuses. They can't, and you'll say, I won't accept any excuses. They're like, well, this curveball came and that's why. Well, you're already not going to make a good GM because I don't want excuses as a GM. I need results. So it is needing someone that is going to be having a little bit of a high D in the disc profile and they can get things done, right? That's a little helpful tip. If you're like, there's a coach, I've even made this mistake. You just thrust them into the top of the career ladder and load them up with a ton of activities. And then they're stressed out of their mind. Try to bridge them towards there, right? With that type of approach. Jason, how about for you, man? Anything you want to add about the GM role?
Yeah, you took some of the words out of my mouth because, if you're a smaller gym owner, you're hearing this right now, you're thinking general manager, you're thinking salary, like how do I afford to pay this person? That may be kind of a daunting task, but think of like like you mentioned a couple different job titles. Maybe it's just bringing someone up to the level of a head coach, or maybe you want to call them a facility coordinator or a facility director, something that's not quite GM level as we kind of think of in our head as like what you and I are doing as owners. But think of it as someone who's just going to be like a screener between you and maybe the staff. Maybe that's going to be a facility coordinator who's going to be in charge of scheduling the coaches. Like if they have vacation requests, they go to the head coach or they go to the facility coordinator or facility leader. So, like you said, think of those 3 to 5 tasks, things that you as the owner don't really have to worry about. Let them go to somebody else. So this way, think of like that person who's going to be assisting you in this role. Let's just say facility coordinator. This person is going to be screening a lot of those tasks before they even get to you. Like maybe this person even handles cancel request, or they have a new person come in, this facility coordinator meets with a new member for their onboarding. And like you used to do that, but now you get to give it to this facility coordinator. So don't be daunted by a GM and how I afford a salary of a GM. Think of it as maybe just elevating one of your current people up just a little bit if they fit. And then they can start screening some of those tasks that used to fall right to you. Like you were the tip of the spear, everything came to you. So now you can think of 3, 5, 6, 7 tasks that this person could now handle. Pay 'em a little bit more, there again, it frees up so much of your time, it's inconsequential, so think of you have nobody in a leadership position besides you, think of, like, what a next level leader could do within your business right now just to make your life so much easier, so without a heavy salary or anything like that, someone who could just start screening those tasks away from you.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. All right. Well, what we hit so far is you got to have a cash flow offer. You got to have the simple marketing and sales processes, just simple systems overall. You got rock star coaches, an industry mentor in the fitness business, a GM, you or someone you hire. Sixth and final one, it's all around support. And so that could be a supportive spouse if you have one, a supportive community, somebody that is there to support you that I would say is more peer level. Like when I think of the mentor, I think it's someone above. When I think your team, they're below and you're trying to pull them up to your level. And then you need someone on the same level as you. You need peers, fellow gym owners, community, or you need, that supportive spouse if you're in a relationship. If you're single, you definitely need to have, gym owners that you can talk to and lean on. That's the final part. This can be a really lonely journey if you choose to go at it alone. And you can't really speak sometimes freely to your team. So you need someone that you can be candid with and talk business. And that's why, again, it's good to have gym owner buddies and hop on the phone or get on group calls or be in Facebook groups where you can kind of ask questions, and you're just going to go through a lot more trial and error trying to figure out everything on your own rather than shortcutting your way because you're asking other people and they can point out all the mistakes. I bet even you, the listener, could go to someone who's opening their first gym and tell them 20 do not like things, right? You're like, I made this mistake and this mistake on my lease, this mistake on my first coach hire, this equipment wasn't worth it. And you can show all these mines that they would step on, but you clearly show them what to do. So that works for people behind you, but what about people ahead of you? That is what you want to do. And then, of course, people at the same level, you can pull a lot of great information by talking to those peers and having that support. And then, of course, again, a spouse that is supportive of what you do. They're not always talking smack. Why are you spending so much time on that business? You ready to shut it down yet? Like, you spend more time there than with me. That's just going to be a giant headache coming. They got to really be behind you, be bought in. And that's part of, the dating process. If you don't have a marriage yet, is make sure that when you're dating around, that this person is going to be supportive of everything you're doing and you're really going to be side by side. Kim, any advice on this? I know we don't usually do this podcast to give relationship advice, but we just know it is part of being a gym owner. It is a aspect of life. So we got to bring it up, right?
Yeah, and I think as business owners, like, first of all, business ownership is hard. I've had several businesses. There's always challenges that come along with it. The unique challenge when it comes to this industry is the amount of support that we pour into everybody else every single day. So we are giving our entire team, our entire membership, Jason mentioned before, you might have 2 or 3 coaches. I have 6 coaches right now, and we have 270 members almost. That's a lot of people to give yourself to give your support to. And it can leave you feeling very draining. And Jason mentioned before too, like you both have, it can be very isolating. So I think it is such an important thing to find that support of you as a business owner. When do you ever hear, hey, you're doing a really good job? Whoever tells you that. Maybe your team every now and again, they'll applaud you for something that you've done, but I think it's more rare that your team or your members might come to you and say, "Hey, you business owner, you're doing a really great job." So definitely making sure that you're surrounded by people who just in general support you as a human, that they support the things that you're doing. They want to see the good things for you in your life. And that you don't have, people that are just trying to knock you down out of jealousy. Maybe they're bad friends. Maybe it's not a supportive spouse. Maybe you have family members that are like, I don't know why you're doing this. You're not going to be successful with it. Like, cut those people loose. As you get older, I think we've all reached this point. We've realized like your circle gets smaller, but the amount of support and how important those people are, that you're all to each other grows and becomes bigger. So, yeah, like we're draining ourselves each day. Make sure that you have that really good supportive network around you to rebuild, your own love and support and energy.
Refill your cup too, right?
Refill your cup,
Uh,
yeah.
all right, Jason, how about for you? Anything you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I mean, especially, I'm sure a lot of people listen to this, and we can all relate. Is like, especially when you first get started. I mean, you want to look for support, but never look for approval because people won't understand. Like your current network at that time, your current circle of friends, they won't understand why in the hell do you want to open up a gym? You are nuts. And that we hear that all the time. And so it's nice to look to your friend network and everybody else for support, but don't go to them and ask business decisions because they don't know. I mean, especially if they're not an entrepreneur, if they've never owned a business before, and you go to them and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this with my lease negotiation," they're going to be like, "That's just crazy." They can't fathom the money you're about to invest. They can't fathom the commitment you're about to make because they work a 9 to 5 punch a clock for 20 some years. Like they don't understand the entrepreneurial mindset. So if you go to them and ask for the advice, they're going to tell you how bad of an idea what you're doing is. Okay, so that's what I would say is like Kim said, your circle will change. I tell you what, over 8 to 9 years doing this, the circle I had back then is completely different than the circle I have now, right? And as a good example, just like my wife and I, our best friends now, our fellow entrepreneurs have a very, very successful diesel repair, multi-million-dollar operation. They became our best friends because everything we talk about is so in common. Like you said, they're kind of like our sounding boards. We can, talk about, staffing issues. We can talk about financial issues. We can talk about things with them that you just couldn't for someone who is not an entrepreneur. I'm not saying you stop loving your family members and friends and things like that, but love and embrace their support. And hopefully they're there for you, but just don't ask them what they think about business or ask them what they think about business decisions because they just might not have the experience to give you the right advice and they might tear you down. They might, try to steer you wrong. So that's the big thing with support community is you just making sure if people support you, but don't go to them for approval because they might not have the best advice for you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, guys, we're gonna wrap up there. That is everything we wanted to share with you on these 6 infinity stones for gym owners to, again, superpower your gym. Like what we would say would really be the checklist. It'd be, a cash flow offer. You're making money on your offer on the front end. Simple marketing and sales process. You got rock star coaches, an industry mentor, a GM, you or someone you hired, and then support, spouse, community, support pet, whatever you need to, get through the day, because you will need it. Trust me. So that is the Infinity Stones for gym owners. That is it. We will let you get out of here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, screenshot it, tag us on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you, and we will see you next week. Hey, gym owners, let's face it, you probably don't love digital marketing. You probably don't want to go into Facebook and load the ad up and think of ad copy and creatives and optimize it daily. Well, hand that over to me and my team, because we're geeks about marketing and we want to flood your gym with new members so you can change their life. Let us do what we do best. All right, go to gymreinforcements.com, book a call. Don't bring the credit card. It's not a hard pitch. It's just a conversation to see if we're a good fit. Talk soon.